Good morning. It is March 2nd. March 2nd. March 2nd. Look at that. Okay, it's March 2nd, and this is going to be the first off-stream VOD review that I do. So, we're starting with Hastis. It's going to be a Moira VOD, mid-platinum, and let's jump right into it.
Vote now on your phones.
Oh, do you actually sit through the entire queue? It looks like you do. Oh yeah, let's just skip ahead here. Okay, Volskaya Industry on attack. You've got the classic Junkrat Mercy duo, always good. Problem we always have when you got a Mercy and a Junkrat duo together is that you gotta assume that the Junkrat is going to be receiving. Ow.
Hello.
Does my mic work?
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, it does, little easy turtle. Your mic does work.
Hello.
Holy smokes. Unfortunately, whenever you see a duo like this, you pretty much know that the Junkrat's going to be receiving the majority of the heals. So you have to plan around that. 2 tanks, which means that you're going to need to use either Ana or Moira to actually put out enough healing to keep them both alive. Ana, you know, you're not really going to get any peels from a Doomfist or Roadhog or a Reinhardt, so Moira, I think, was the strongest pick here.
Science will reveal the truth.
Like the music you got going on in the background. Wonder if that's just trying to keep yourself focused, or if that's just how you play. Usually if you're playing a healer class, you don't usually want to be listening to music while you play, because it's important to hear when you're being snuck up on. But, hey, if it keeps you relaxed and keeps you focused, it's probably a good trade-off to have. Now, the first thing that I'd be looking for is what is your Mercy doing? And actually damage boosting you instead of playing with the Junkrat. Nice pull in. Yeah, so here the first issue there is that Moira does diddly fucking squat against barriers here, right? So as soon as this Orisa places her shield down, you sort of should have switched to heals. Like, you could have faded, you could have been really aggressive and faded through the shield and continued assisting with the damage. But if you don't have fade up, as soon as a barrier goes up, instead of just trying to damage the barrier, just heal people. Just heal people through the barrier. So right here, it's good. Like, the shield has way more health than you're going to be being able to deal with. So you have 2 options. Heal, just to make sure that your guys can stay aggressive. Or fade through the barrier and continue to attack them. But just damaging this barrier here is completely useless. So they go down, right? The barrier's still there. So yeah, your right click there did nothing.
Let's go in. Ponzo's 1 on point.
Need help on point.
You generally don't want to bounce the orb off the ground like that, because then it's going to go into the sky and be absolutely unrecoverable. If you see areas like this, try and put it like directly perpendicular to a wall so that it bounces out and it comes back, right? There's a wall right here, right in this area, and then there's a similar wall at the same angle right 180 degrees of you. So if you drop a healing orb in this location, it'll just bounce back and forth across the point unless D.Va eats it. So instead of throwing it at the ground like that, throw it in a specific direction or towards a damaged teammate. You use it for self-healing here, but it has to be multi-purpose. It has to be self-healing, and it just sticks around for a while in case anyone else gets damaged, or it's also going to be heading in the general direction of an injured teammate. You should get in a habit of not using fades you don't need to use, because if you get attacked by like a Genji, like if a Genji whips out his blade, if a Tracer starts focusing, your fade is really the only thing that keeps you alive. So you should think of fade as a life-saving ability that you shouldn't use so carelessly.
I got Hanzo top right.
So, of course, you didn't get punished for that fade that you used. Also, that damage orb isn't going... Okay. But you try and stop launching orbs skyward, because you're not going to get as much effect out of them. Also, trying to right-click armored targets is
My shield's down,
suboptimal,
waiting to recharge.
right? You do 50 damage, and armor, because of right-clicks high, you do 50 damage per second, but right-click has quite the tick rate on it. So it's going to be a lot harder for you to deal any appreciable damage to armor. Yeah, so
Nice.
here
On the top.
here you can always try and assist because you're not really in threat of dying to the Riptide, right? So this is another example of you using Fade early. So you hear the Riptide and you use Fade immediately, right here. So fire in the hole. You immediately fade, but you're in no threat here. I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Stupid telemarketers. So you use Fade to escape and kind of like leave your team to die. Well, if you are going to do this, like you're in no threat, because if the Riptide is in range, you can immediately fade out of range. So at least try and stay and help your team damage the Riptide, right? So if you're playing with somebody like a McCree, if he hits it once, it's 70, so he has to hit it twice to kill it. But if you take it down the rest of the 30 with your right click, for example, then it will actually kill it and save your team. So since you have Fade and you're more or less safe, just stay with your team and Fade at the very last moment to evade it instead of being just like running and hiding. So that's my first piece of advice. Boom. Your Junkrat does get the
On the
Riptide.
top right.
You drop down.
Oof. Bit early on that Fade. Almost died. I'd be a little bit more cautious.
Okay, that was me. Sorry. Trying to get behind to get a good angle for Earth Shatter, but it didn't work out.
No worries, let's group up and wait for the Reinhardt.
I'll be back momentarily.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, you gotta get better with your orb usage. And
Onto
that's
the
just
right
unlucky. There was no way you
Back
could have
up. They
known
got
he
2
was there.
picks on us.
But here you want to be thinking about how you're going to use your coalescence, right? So going up top right, for example, would be good because then you can clear them out of there and you could use your speed boost to like cross the gap with coalescence active. Or you could just go in main and kind of like brute force your way
I
in
think we
using the
should
coalescence
try
for
to
healing.
push in this,
But
fight and
right now
not
you're
using
all kind of
ultimates and
feeling...
try to, you know, force a few out of them.
Good idea. So you know that you've been, you know, your team has been feeding pretty dramatically here, so they do have ultimates. So, and this is Plat, right? Just pressing W should force them to actually use ultimates on you because it just seems like, you know, that's like a good idea. Hey, the enemy's attacking, let's press Q. No, let me explain that a little bit more. Normally, that is a good thing to do. Like, if the enemy is attacking you, even on defense, you want to engage first. But at the higher elos, which is not Plat, if an enemy is doing an eco push, the defender should either be able to recognize an eco push, and well, they should be able to recognize an eco push and defeat it with no or as few ults as possible, as long as they didn't get like picked first. Because defender's advantage is still massive. So if like the enemy is moving in really fast and they didn't like engage with an ultimate, you should try to be holding off to use ultimates to win, unless you really have to win, so that you can kind of not get tricked into the whole eco push strat. But at Platinum here, it'll probably work just pressing W in their general directions to make them use ultimates.
Alright, hold on, wait for me. I got res.
You got res, that's good. And Coalescence is a rather cheap ult. You get it very fast.
Here.
So
Yeah.
there's the first ult that's baited.
there's
That's
one down.
good. Not like that's a big one. That's
I got
not...
ult though.
Okay, so
I need help up top.
Our
They're after
Junkrat's-
me. Fuck.
Alright, let's go.
Actually, let's use
You got-
ults.
you
They're
have
3 down, 3 down. Let's go.
okay, so here's a big mistake. I think you're the one who's saying they're 3 down, let's use ults. Ultimates are what you use to get numbers advantages. After that, you don't really need ultimates. Like if it's a 6v3, or in this case a 5v3, 5v3? I think it's 5v3 right now, because your Reinhardt fed, and then you killed one, Junkrat got two, so it's 5v3 right now. So at this point, you've got a 2-man numbers advantage, and you shouldn't need ultimates to kill people. Your ultimate is a sustain, so you'd use it to actually keep your tank, or in this case, your Roadhog alive, because unfortunately your Reinhardt went down. But when you have a numbers advantage, you shouldn't need ults to win. Like, think about how easy the game would be if it was 5v3 when both teams were exiting the spawn. Like, the people with 5 characters on their team should win regardless of the status of ultimates. However, like, this is a misconception, a very common misconception, is that when you have an advantage, you should use ultimates to kind of like push that advantage. You know, if it's a slight advantage, or if you're in danger of having the advantage swing against you, like a tempo ult, like the one you have, is very good for maintaining that aggression and the advantage. But, you know, trying to use ultimates when they're already half their team is dead is wasteful. So we've used Valkyrie, they've Coalescence and Supercharger. So we have Valkyrie up. So it's kind of debatable whether or not you're going to need to use your ultimate here. Maiden Korea, is that your Doomfist? Yeah, so I don't think you needed Coalescence here, because you already had Valkyrie, so now you're using 2 tempo ults at the same time. You're using against an armored target. You don't have... Why are health bursts not showing?
Watch out for the bomb.
And you die. So yeah, it would have been much better to have, you know, I don't think it, oh, your Roadhog got rezzed, but it would have been much better to have your Coalescence, for afterwards.
Damn,
like,
after
the Valkyrie ended, that would have been a good time to use your own Coalescence.
I almost got ulti again.
So.
Honestly, we should have had it. I saw forward 1 on the point for a minute there.
Yeah,
Should have been at least
Reinhardt,
be able to
you
get a
fed.
tick.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if you
I got a
hadn't
pick.
fed Reinhardt.
I think we were a little bit too spread out. It was kind of hard for me to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kind of center around Reinhardt more.
Like, if you want to go
Got ulti.
high ground so badly, Reinhardt, just go instant, please. Okay, so that D.Va doesn't have boost. You know, yes, it's an armored target, but...
I need to recover my shield.
Reapers.
Make the call, wouldn't have pushed in.
I need healing.
We're going in.
They
I
got
like
a
that you
Reaper.
still have the majority of your healing resource here. And, like, you want to be having your next
Shields
orb
down,
using
shields
heal
down.
orb. So, you know that your Reinhardt is, A, pushing in, and there's no one really behind him. Okay, and he's going against an Orisa and a Junkrat on the other team, so his shield is going to go down, and his pick right here is pretty much worthless. Reinhardt is not good on this point with the composition you're running. So, I would be saving the healing orb that I have until his shield breaks, and then I would drop hit my healing orb and start just trying to just sustain heal him. But he's pushing in really slowly with no support right behind him, and then when his shield breaks, he's likely just to kind of like back off instead of being aggressive. So yeah, all this Reinhardt is accomplishing is kind of like breaking his shield and then being like, oh no, and then dying. So, like, yeah, but the only real thing that this is doing is serving as a distraction, so you should pretty much have to either encourage him to be aggressive or sustain him long enough that he draws the aggression of the opponent, which will hopefully give your Junkrat and your Roadhog time to actually kill people. But, yeah, he's, he's not being very useful here.
Down.
So, healing orb. You need to launch your healing orb. Oh, that sucks. I think that's, isn't that the Hanzo who headshot you earlier? 'Cause that sucks.
Get the D.Va and the Reaper behind first. Actually,
I'm
there's
dead.
2 in the back left.
Reflect upon this.
Okay, Reinhardt's
That's,
not working
that's
for
lost,
this.
lost fight.
Wow, he
Yeah,
recognized it.
back up.
What is he going to switch
True.
to? Orisa. Nice. I like it. People always think of Orisa as a defender, but having her as an attacker is never a bad idea. Well,
I could probably get
not
some bit.
never a bad idea, but it can be worth a shot.
I'm gonna try to.
Alright, we're all here.
Because the
Let's
big
go in.
thing about Orisa isn't that she's got, you know, she slows down while she's shooting, so it makes her less capable of actually pushing the objective. But as long as she's like the big thing, the big
Orisa is half as well.
biggest difference between her
got
and
Reaper
Reinhardt
on the.
is that Reinhardt's shield has a finite amount of resources, so you need to move quickly because you need to get everything you want to accomplish accomplished within his 2000 HP shield. But Orisa, you can constantly apply a low amount of pressure until an opportunity presents itself. So Reinhardt, you have like a 20-second window, maybe, in order to accomplish things, whereas Orisa, you can, especially if you have more pressure, because right now you're running Pharah, Junkrat, and Orisa, so that's a fuck ton of spam, like classic Platinum composition. Shit tons of spam and just, out-damage the opponent. So Orisa is a much better addition to this than Reinhardt is, and she was really low here, and you kind of ignored her. So I think the Orisa is still critical to your back right.
Reaper no range.
Diva's one hit. BB.
It's unfortunate that your Pharah elected to do that. Yeah, just keep your tanks up here. When you do get the chance, if you can, so instead of being on the side here, right? So you have one tank here and the other tank here, and then you're here, and you're trying to heal one or the other. Remember that Moira's healing is piercing, so if you were standing right behind the Orisa and spraying at the Roadhog, you would heal both of them. So whenever possible, try to get piercing healing on Moira with both her left click and her ultimate.
Don't use ults here.
I liked that damage orb. That put a lot of pressure on those two guys around the corner there.
Just waiting on the Pharah. Alright, let's go in.
Now would be a good time to pop Coalescence, by the way. Just pushing in. It gives you a lot of sustain. Just chip damage on the opponents, as well as making sure that your tanks don't really get burned down as they're taking ground.
Let's go far left side.
I don't really want to go far left, right? You're a spamming composition, and they're also running a spamming composition. So going the far left, if you go through the Mega Room, there's a tiny door. If you go far left to the point, you're in the low ground against a Junkrat, and you can get spammed out pretty easily. And if you go high ground, you're going to be going through doorways. So main is your best option here. You don't have to be too creative. You just haven't really had a coordinated attack yet.
Get the Reaper on the left. He's inside on the left.
Can we go left side?
And a lot of the time, I'm finding that you get distracted, or you kind of like leave your team to look around or something. So if your team is poking at the choke, you kind of have to be there to heal them up. So let's look at this again. Go back 10 seconds or so. Okay, so here you're healing, and then when you look to the left to go left, you stop doing anything. You have Orb off cooldown, you have half resources, so you could be like peeking to try and recharge your healing resource. And you're like, you look at your team,
let's go far.
And then you're going far left. So you've kind of stopped existing. Like, as far as contributing value to your team here, you've stopped existing.
Far left side.
You turn back, you're going to see here that your Mercy is going to take quite a fuck ton of chip damage, and you don't react to it.
Get the Reaper on the left.
So see that? Your Mercy went down, and your immediate reaction was not to launch a healing.
He's inside on the left.
Like, you did nothing. You're still not kind of like reacting. So while you're in your planning stage or your thinking stage, it tends to, this is like the 4th or 5th time I've noticed this, it tends to affect you actually playing the game, doing things in the moment.
Can we go left side?
So yeah, you don't, you see that your Mercy is low, it doesn't register or something, and then you continue back to try and go with the plan that you just decided on. Because you stopped contributing or you lost awareness of your team, your Mercy dies. Wasted Fade.
We lost Mercy.
If you had Fade up.
Reaper is one fucking hit. I need help. Okay, no one was behind.
Yeah, so your Mercy died, you died, now the Orisa died. So, and this kind of all happened because you let your Mercy die. You weren't there to protect her. Like, the primary job of both supports is going to be to heal each other. So you need to keep that in mind. And while you're in here planning or trying to figure out what to do, you have to be doing something. So the wrong choice or doing the wrong thing is way better than doing nothing at all.
Behind me. I thought I was.
I was with you,
Everyone
but I
was
died. So
Yeah, besides you.
a lot of the problem we're having is that the Reaper and the D.Va are flanking around on the left side.
Now, the problem is that you guys aren't regrouping and moving in, right? 2CP, on the first point of 2CP, the reason why everyone can capture it is because you can actually capture it on attack by staggering in one at a time, because spawn advantage is in your favor. But on the second point of 2CP, you need to attack as a team and try to win a team fight, but all of you are just continuously getting staggered, right? So this is kind of where the pace of play comes into thing, is that you haven't had a single attack where you attacked at, well, no, you've had one. You had one. You're Reinhardt, okay, so you've had one. But after that, something has always happened that has prevented you from pushing in, and that's simply because you've been waiting at the choke for too long. You know, if a Hanzo spams 20 arrows, you know, one of them is going to headshot. But if you only spend enough time with the choke for the Hanzo to launch like 3 arrows, the chance of him getting a headshot before the fight begins is dramatically lessened. So, you know, I always joke about it, but it's really quite true. And there's only really 2 phases of play in Grandmaster. There's regroup and there's fight. So, you know, Grandmasters, if they get staggered, they regroup. You know, so if one of them gets picked, it's an instant regroup here. So if that Mercy had died and you were at a higher level, everyone would have just backed off and kind of just like, I don't know, sat in a corner and waited until their Mercy got picked. And then after the Mercy got back, they would have decided what else they're going to use to onto their attack, and they would have just pressed W, get on the point, use the ultimates that they planned, and hope for the best. And if they won, they won, and if not, they regroup and try it again. But so far, you've only had one attempted attack on this second point, and even then you attacked with your Reinhardt down. So yeah, I kind of get what you're saying here. Like, that's what's actually killing you, but that's kind of it's a symptom. It's not the main illness.
And because of that, we're kind
of
we just kind of get pincered. So if we go left, then they can't really do that.
Yeah,
I got tired.
It's a good idea, but you're overthinking it. Honestly, it's as 6 forward with ults.
I have my ult ready.
Alright, we have all ults, dude.
Okay, so we have all ults. You should be deciding which ones you want to use so that you don't waste all 6. Oh.
D.Va's half.
We're just waiting on the Junkrat. Don't go in yet.
Reaper's right side. Reaper's right side.
Alright, can we go left? We're all here.
Let's get the Reaper. Reaper's half. No Wraith form. Come left. Come
D.Va's
left.
left side. Can we go left?
Your orb actually killed someone. No way.
Reaper and D.Va are left. Guys, you need to be with us right when we say move left.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
we've lost
sure.
this.
Is your Roadhog in comms?
Problem is our DPS are the wrong pick.
He's not. Okay, so your Roadhog's not in comms. I figured he wasn't. Oh, and he's also flaming now. Okay, that's unfortunate. But yeah,
Just
especially
push it when we get back. We got
the strategy when people aren't in comms like this is to just go full frag mode. You can't come up with strategies because 5 man, you know, 5 out of 6 people doing something a strategy does not make. So when people are out of comms, you basically have to go full like solo queue deathmatch, you know, frag to win sort of play style. So instead of trying to come up with these unique strategies, just go forward with ultimates, and you know, try and win. Have you used Coalescence yet? You used it once. You used it once, I think. So you have 4,000 healing done and 3,000 damage, so, and 1 Coalescence. You've been sitting on this Coalescence for a long time. Using it to bait out ultimates, using it to assist the push, you know, using it to encourage the push. You know, at lower elos, when I was doing my healer-only account, one of the common strategies to win 2CP was to basically use my ultimate at the choke to encourage my team, like, go forward, you won't die, I assure you. Like, please, just get and stand on the point and fight there. So
to push down the middle, use our ults.
it's unfortunate that your main tank dude is so frustrated, but I kind of understand, you know, his
Don't go in yet.
Someone's got
partner
touch.
Going
isn't
forward.
helping him. Coalescence. Coalescence. Good stuff. Hey, look at that.
Wow, he had 3 picks off of that. Junkrat, chicken shit, where were you?
Oh my god, really flaming each other? I guess it's what, but you know, you saw that was like you made it onto point, you started getting kills, and then they pressed Q and they counter killed you, and that's really as easy as it is. That's as easy it was the entire time. Pressing W from choke, direct to point, none of this fancy strat shit. Press Q, kill them, right? You press Q, Pharah press Q, they died. Reaper press Q, Soldier press Q, you died. Like, you just keep doing that until ult advantage is in your favor, or you outplay their ultimates, or you kill them before they can use ultimates, but it's reset Q, reset Q, reset Q, and if you attack together as 6 with ultimates, you will win 2 CP. That's just how it works.
I ulted.
Alright, let's keep a positive attitude here.
I
We can
love
still win this.
you! You're so positive! I love that.
Switching sides.
I like that.
Prepare your defenses. Select your hero.
Oh yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, you got one guy who's tilted. He's not problem is that this guy, he's not tilted. He wants to win. He's trying. I just feel bad for the guy. Now you got a Lucio, and oh, you're doing Zarya on the defense. Okay. So Mercy Lucio, Junkrat Soldier, Orisa Zarya isn't the greatest. You can make it work. Don't get me wrong, you can make it work, but the level of coordination it requires to actually make it work is pretty daunting. You know, so you can use your bubble to kind of like sew the gaps between Orisa's barriers if she's you know, taking too much damage to have 100% shield uptime. And if she does have a 100% shield uptime, you have to be coordinating the bubbles that can actually allow Orisa to peek and be aggressive and change locations and things like that. But it's more difficult than playing with Orion, certainly. But yeah, and the other problem is that on defense, you know, they, especially on a 2CP, sort of like an assault map, in between fights or attacks, your energy is just going to naturally go down and get lower. There's not this same sort of like push and pull that you would see in escort maps or in the escort phase of hybrid. So Zarya is weaker, especially on defense 2CP. Good on attack, especially on the second point, because that grab combo can very easily get the team kill that secures the second point cap.
I got
So,
Junkrat up top.
so like there, how you would be working with like a proper Zarya Orisa combo is that your Zarya would be starting in front of the shield to get the energy from your projected bubble. Because you need to build energy, and unless your Orisa is purposefully in front of her shield taking that damage for you, you're just going to constantly sit at low energy.
Hanzo top left or Genji top left.
So,
My shield is
yeah.
gone. My shield is gone.
Yeah. So you should have expected something, right? The trigger to use your bubbles should have been the fact that Orisa's barrier went down. That should have triggered the bubble onto Orisa immediately. Let's watch that again. So here, you know that, like, you can see the shields cracked, and the opponent can see the shields cracked. So one of the big things is, especially, like, let's take the theoretical match of, like, Orisa versus Reinhardt, for example. If the Reinhardt has Shatter, the Reinhardt is going to shatter as soon as that shield breaks. So what you would do is bubble the Orisa as soon as the shield breaks. So
I
here,
got Junkrat up top.
bubble goes down, no, it goes back up,
top left.
and then it breaks almost immediately. Goes down here. So this, I would make sure that I'm not in line of sight of the choke. I would bubble the Orisa and bubble myself and just peek to try and collect some spam damage. So you're forward. You kind of look up. Neither you nor the Orisa is bubbled.
My shield
You get hooked.
is gone. My shield is gone.
You turn around, and what I would do is this corner around here. So you try and walk back to your team. You try and go from here to this area. What you should do is go and then turn the corner. so that your healers can heal you up, and you'll break line of sight earlier. So you'll see that you walk like here-ish and die.
Gone.
So you're like, oh, please save me, and then you die. So if you had just like turned to the corner,
They've got a lot of good shield break. I can't
probably
keep
would
it
have
up.
gotten an option to
I got
survive.
Hog no heal. Let's go to point.
I'm
go to
dead.
point, go to
I'm
point.
dead.
Yeah, your bubble could have at least delayed that death. No fade. That's a really good opportunity for a kill. Nice melee. I like that you're getting in front to body block the damage from the soldier. He doesn't have hook. You could, well, yeah. The Roadhog has hook in about 2 seconds. You have to, like, you didn't warn anyone? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, object permanence, right? That Roadhog has his hook. He used it. He didn't get the soldier, but he's still a threat. And you didn't warn your team that he was there. You didn't warn them on the status of the hook, and you also didn't save your projected bubble, in order to actually block that hook. So at this point, once you're into this stage of the fight, any opportunities to collect just spam damage for energy have long passed. At this point, you need to be using your bubble for life-saving scenarios. So recognizing that they have a hog that is still a threat, and knowing that if he hooks someone, you can probably bubble that for 40 energy. In a chaotic team fight, life-saving bubbles are energy-building bubbles. There are no difference between the two. So here, the fact that it was more or less the hog's mistake that he didn't get the kill. You didn't do anything fancy other than kind of like making him fuck off and preventing him from pursuing the soldier kill. But you had no respect for him coming back to the point with another hook and going fishing again. So you turn your back. You do get this diva, but you trade Lazy Turtle for it. So minimum damage, right click on Zarya is 45, maximum damage is 90. So if you're at high energy, 90 damage right click plus a melee is 120. So that mini diva was really low and could have been killed by a right click melee pretty much at any point in time. It took you longer to kill that diva than it should have.
I'm combat now.
Right click melee, right click melee. No, being healed by Moira, okay, but right clicks are way burstier and should be used to finish targets off. They're also usually easier to hit if you don't have the greatest tracking. Just aim at their feet. Now you're
Lewis is dead.
So that Roadhog used vape. So he's actually a pretty decent target here. So you could have finished the Moira off with the right-click melee combo, and you're dead here. Bye. So you could be securing a lot more kills with your right-click melee combo. And yeah, using your bubbles a little bit more efficiently, and as well recognizing where advantages exist. So a Roadhog having used his hook is vulnerable. A Roadhog having used his vape is vulnerable.
Yeah,
so
create a formation.
Create a formation. What sort of formation?
They're all top left. Pushing. My shield's pretty much dead.
Very nice grab.
Their chunk's
oh,
dead.
You died to total mayhem. No.
You guys can restabilize.
Get the diva first.
No, never mind.
It's unlucky.
Well, honestly, your grab wasn't that bad. It's unfortunately that so many people died before it happened.
Well, we definitely.
I'm actually interested to hear what your Reinhardt had to say.
Shouldn't have had 2 splash damage characters in the attack, but yeah, unlucky.
Unlucky indeed, Reinhardt. Unlucky indeed. So overall, decent-ish, but really keep it simple, right? Ugh, snap, crackle, pop. There's no need to create these really complicated strats, and by really complicated, I mean like going left or going right. When you're having trouble and you're just kind of like sitting around in a point, or you don't have people in comms, strategies won't help you. So keep it simple. Go forward, actually murder the opponents, and then just win, right? Strategies what's a good way of saying this? You know, all a strategy is really meant to do is make it easier for you to kill the opponent. But if you've never actually attempted killing the opponent the simple way or the easy way, why try and make it hard on yourself? So just take the fight to the opponent and frag them there. If you have ultimates, press forward with Q. You know, the team that wins is normally the team that uses Q first or uses their ultimates first because it forces the enemy team to react. And whereas in a 6v6 situation, if somebody uses ultimates, it's got a pretty good chance of turning it into a 6v5 or a 6v4. But if you're down 6v4 and you ult, first of all, it's going to be the chance of turning a 6v6 into a 6v4 is higher than turning a 6v4 into a 4v4 if you use ultimates. So ulting first is almost always better because it forces the enemy to outplay you instead of coming up with a plan. And initiating first, you know, it removes the aspect of having to identify and properly react to the opponent's plans. So just from keeping it simpler, you know, why try and outthink the opponent if you're the one forcing them to constantly react to you? So that's just a few different ways that you can think of it. On Moira, or on any hero, the biggest weakness in your overall play is on the occasions where you're trying to think of what to do or get your surroundings, and then when you go into your planning or thinking phase, you kind of lose track of your surroundings and don't contribute. You don't heal, you don't use your orbs, you know, you don't look for each and every opportunity to get the maximum value out of your character. And I'd say the third and final tip that I think you struggle with the most is your cooldown management. So you have these, there are certain cooldowns that are really, really powerful. And Moira's Fade, it's an ability that literally makes her invincible and invisible and invincible, or invulnerable, I suppose. And you use it when it would net you the slightest bit of advantage. So if you could think of like a 1 to 10 scale of what gives me the most, or you know, how much value did I get out of this ability? If you find an opportunity where Moira would get, you know, 2 points of value out of using Fade, you use it. You know, even if you, as long as you survive without using Fade, it's usually better to hold on to Fade. Because like a Riptire coming for you, that's like a 10 out of 10 value for using Fade there, because it means you literally don't die. Or using Fade and kind of like moving around in place and then fighting that Reaper only to get orbed back into that Reaper not a moment later and die because you didn't have Fade. Stop trying to get some value out of your cooldowns and save them for when you actually need them to stay alive. So, you know, your cooldowns on both your orbs, your orb use was inefficient and at some points incorrect. You know, throwing at the ground is quite a major disadvantage. Throw it when you're perpendicular to a wall, because at the very least it will return to your general direction or the area in which your team is fighting. And the second is just, you know, Fade. You know, just keep it for when you actually need it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the VOD review. Congrats on being the first one. We're just going to keep it simple. I'm probably not going to do video editing. But yeah, hope you guys had a good Friday. Cheers. Bye.